Welcome to the Slippery Rock Sports Forum. I'm Tim Durr, and alongside me are my co-hosts Bill Kostkas, Madeline Williams, and Zach Smith. Since this is our first episode, I'll let everybody know how the show is going to run. Our panel will discuss topics from Slippery Rock sports, professional sports, and other college sports. We'll pick topics each week to discuss and focus on. Now let's start the discussion. Our first topic of the night will be Slippery Rock's football team, and specifically the 28-3 loss on Saturday to number 4 ranked California University. Madeline, what did Saturday's performance say to you about the team?
There weren't too many high points for the Rock this weekend. The only main thing that they did well on was the one field goal they had in the second quarter. The offense was pretty pathetic. The defense did show some strong points, though, but all playoff hopes, I think, are pretty lousy for them.
I think that the early fumble on the opening kickoff really hurt their chances in this game. Cal, ranked number 4 in the nation. You just can't make mistakes against a team like that. They're ranked 4th for a reason in the country. I feel the penalties also. There was a punt return that was called back that really cost them some field position, which may have shifted the tide of the game, the big momentum. With them playing a team like Cal, you got to really wonder if they were really meant to be a strong team in the PSAC.
I think as long as I've followed Slippery Rock football here, the Cal game each year has been the measuring stick for whether or not they're going to make the playoffs. They come into this game 4-0, 5-0, 5-1, 6-0, 6-1, and everyone thinks, well, how are they going to do against Cal? Because if they don't do well against Cal and beat them, the odds are they're not going to make the playoffs. And I think it's safe to say because they lost on Saturday that their playoffs are kaput, as they say in Germany. They were dominated in time of possession. It was almost 40 minutes till just over 20 minutes. Something that stuck out to me, Akeem Satterfield, who has rushed for over 200 yards at least twice so far this year, if I'm correct. 49 yards on 14 carries on Saturday against Cal. I think the Rock went away from what they did the best, and you see that everywhere in sports. If you don't do what got you there, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Bill. It just looks like this team, as far as I've seen too from the past years that I've been here and covered, watched Slippery Rock sports and any PSAC sports, Cal's definitely been the top tier. They're the number 1 team every year. It seems like other teams jumble around behind them, and Slippery Rock has had its chances, but like you said, they can't. That's the game they need to win the past few years, and that's the game that they end up losing that, and it seems like from there on their season just seemed to fall apart, and they're not able to do anything after that.
It's not just for in Slippery Rock's case too. It's that for the rest of the conference. I'm sure everyone else. What are we gonna do for that Cal game? Because that's the team everyone wants to knock off because they're a perennial powerhouse in this conference. So it's not to say that Slippery Rock's lousy or anything, but that's just how the cards fall.
Another key point in the game was field position. They weren't really, it really didn't seem like they had a stable offense. So that kind of makes you wonder, like you said, about their season kind of falling apart, where their morals going to be after this game. It really makes you wonder how they're going to finish the season out, which is interesting, I feel.
Yeah, I think one more thing, this week hopefully now they're playing a team that's not very good. They're playing Lock Haven, they're a struggling team. If they can get a win this week, they might be able to get a couple more wins, get things going in the right direction, and come on. If they win the rest of their games, they'll have a small chance to get into the playoffs. But it seems like we've been saying this entire discussion, that Cal game's really been the one that's been the deciding factor.
Let's move from SRU football to men's soccer. All right, Tim. SRU defeated Willing Jesuit 4-0 on Saturday, but the bigger topic to discuss is the Rock's chances of going to the PSAC playoffs. As it stands right now for SRU to guarantee themselves a spot in the playoffs, they must win their final 2 conference games against Mercyhurst and Lock Haven, which obviously is going to be rough. Mercyhurst, number 4 in the country. It's just very interesting to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah, Zach, and Mercyhurst is a team that SRU is very familiar with. They played them multiple times last year in a playoff game. They played them in the PSAC playoffs and also in the national playoffs. So last year, Mercyhurst was also a very good team. And Slippery Rock was in the type of the position that Mercyhurst is in right now. Slippery Rock was the dominating team in the PSAC last year. Them in Millersville, they were able to win the PSAC. And it seems like these 2 games are going to be the most important games, specifically the Mercyhurst one. Lock Haven, they're a struggling team. They're not very good. I don't believe they've won a conference game yet this year. But for them for Mercyhurst, they're undefeated right now. They're 11-0-2. For Slippery Rock to face them and beat them, it's something they have to do, and something that they should be able to do. They're a very good team, and facing Mercyhurst, it's not an impossible task. You might say, oh, number 4 ranked team, undefeated, but Mercyhurst, they have 5 PSAC games left, and most likely they're going to win most of them. If Slippery Rock can win their 2 games by how the standings are stacking up, they'll definitely be able to get into playoffs. If they win those 2 games, they're in. But the Mercyhurst game is definitely the one we should focus on. What do you see about that, Bill?
As you touched on this Mercyhurst team, they're undefeated. They've played 13 games. They've only tied twice, and they've only allowed a total of 8 goals, which I think is that speaks to how stout their defense is. Two things the Rock's going to have going for them. They play them, so even if you lose, if you can manage somehow to get into the playoffs, you're going to have that chance to adjust on what you did wrong. So another thing I noticed was on the schedule, this pretty much isn't in the Rock's favor. Mercyhurst closes with 5 regular season games to close out. The Rock only with 2. And I think that can play a role in Mercyhurst getting so much momentum by knocking off. We got a conference opponent. We got another. Let's go get another one. And Slippery Rock's just not going to have that mindset closing out the year. Yeah,
one thing to say is that Slippery Rock, they have these 2 games now against they're playing West Virginia conference teams they face, and that's what these weeks are. They start off Saturday, that win against Wheeling Jesuit, and that was kind of making a statement to the teams from West Virginia. So they should win these next 2 games. They're better than these 2 teams. But like you said, Mercyhurst, they're playing PSAC opponents. PSAC conference is a stronger conference than the West Virginia conference, so they're going to be playing better opponents coming into the Slippery Rock game. So they're definitely going to have a better chance of just being ready and getting the ball rolling when they come and play Slippery Rock. So Madeline, what do you have to say about this?
I just want to touch on Saturday's game on senior night for them, I guess. I was really impressed. 4 guys scoring for the Rock and 4 assists coming from 4 different guys. Shows that they're really playing well in the field, contributing the ball to each other. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's definitely a different team this year. Last year, Matt Thompson was the coach, and Jeremy Dayton was the main focus. I think he had 28 goals, 24 goals maybe. He was just a dominating threat out there. And this year, they really have to pass the ball around a lot more. And that's something that might help them out in the long run with having that just different strikers from different positions stepping up and everybody doing their job other than just one person. But that's really the main thing. The main thing that they have to focus on right now is that Mercyhurst game. These other games really don't matter. If they beat Mercyhurst, then they just got to beat a Lock Haven team and they're into the playoffs.
Final point I would like to add, the Mercyhurst game is at home, and also with Mercyhurst being 11-0-2, as you mentioned earlier, those 2 ties could have won either way. So it's kind of not really, what would I say, an upset win if Slippery Rock were to win due to the 2 earlier ties in the year. But that game is at home, so Slippery Rock may have the advantage in that game.
One final point on men's soccer, I think that they've been there. They're the defending champs. They know what to do. They have the experience, so you can't fully count them out, even if the odds are stacked against them coming into the conference playoffs. But speaking of soccer, I think we should talk about what the women's team has done thus far this season. As of last Wednesday, the women are now ranked 5th in the Atlantic region and have earned a very quiet record of 9-3-2. In their last 7 games, they haven't lost at all. In fact, they've won 5 of them and only tied twice. On the year, they have 7 shutouts, and that can be attributed to Coach Noreen Hurley switching out both of her goalkeepers and playing the hot end each time. In each of their 3 losses, they've suffered sloppy defensive collapses, which ended up costing them at the end of the game. And all those are correctable. If that gets tightened up, you can bet the farm that they're going to be a big threat to win the conference. So
also, I would like to comment on women's soccer. If they're able to, like Bill said, correct their mistakes, which seem minimal, small, very small, their chances within the PSAC getting into the playoffs and having a strong way to finish out the season and a strong playoff run seems very likely. Madeline?
This is a big game for them. Mercyhurst is a pretty good team too. They have a game this Tuesday, I believe tomorrow, against IUP. That'll be a big game at home. And the Mercyhurst game was home, showing that they're pretty strong at their home field.
Yeah, the women's soccer team, it's something for, it's a lot easier for them to make the playoffs than the men's, because the women's soccer format for the PSAC playoffs has 8 teams that make it. So Slippery Rock, I know they're up there in the top 5 in the rankings. They're in the top half of the bracket. So if they can just stay steady and win most of their games, out the final 4 games of the season, 3-1, 2-2, they should be in a good situation to make the playoffs. And that's really all you need. When you can get into the playoffs, anything can happen.
One more point on that. They're currently in 3rd place. They're 7 points behind Westchester, so they're in good shape as they're sitting now. I still think mathematically 7 points is just 3.5 wins, so they can make a push to the finish as the top spot in the conference in the regular season. But yeah.
Which, again, as you were saying, wouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Again, the mistakes, small mistakes. If they're able to win out the rest of the season, I think they'll have a very, very strong playoff run. Madeline.
Thanks, Zach. Now that we've finished our discussion of the main focus of the Slippery Rock sports, here are some of the results of the other teams along with their next scheduled games. The men's and women's cross-country teams both competed in the Penn State Invitational on Saturday. The men finished strong 21st at the meet, while the women finished 25th. The next competition for both the teams will be this Saturday at the Mercyhurst Gannon Invitational in Erie. The women's volleyball team played 2 matches on Saturday, losing the first to Alderson Broaddus College and winning the second against Fairmont State. The team's now 8-15 in the season with a 5-8 conference record. Their next match will be this Friday at Cal U. The field hockey team fell to number 1 ranked East Stroudsburg on Sunday with a score of 6-1. They're now 2-10 in the season and 1-3 in the conference play. And the 30th ranked Rock tennis team finished its fall season with a 6-3 win over Grove City, and it will start the spring portion of its season with a 4-0 record. Now we'll have a quick commercial break and come back to talk about Big Ben's return to the Steelers this Sunday.
Welcome back. Now we will turn our discussion to Big Ben Roethlisberger, the Steelers quarterback. He came back and returned to the field on Sunday and threw 3 touchdowns as Pittsburgh defeated Cleveland 28-10. So what are your thoughts on Big Ben's return, Madeline?
I don't think Ben was a disappointment to anyone. He definitely got things going. He's the ringmaster of the Steelers. He definitely gets the show on the road and makes things happen. He had 3 nice touchdown passes, only 1 interception, but altogether I think he had a fantastic performance.
I think Ben did exactly what everyone expected, in my honest opinion. His 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. The interception was a bit questionable. It looks like there was a mix-up on a route with him and Mewelde Moore. Most notably, though, the defense. The defense had a big part in that game, holding the Browns to 10 points, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. Also, just the way that the Steelers just kept it rolling. The running game was strong as ever. With Ben back, I don't see anything really stopping the Steelers from clinching an AFC North title.
As we have already elaborated on, Ben was a little bit rusty. I mean, I wanted the guy to come in and throw 5 touchdowns, let's be honest. But we have to keep in mind that the guy was suspended for 4 weeks, and that's a month. He wasn't allowed to practice with his teammates, wasn't allowed to talk football with them at all. The guy pulled a Brett Favre the whole time he was suspended. He was practicing on a high school field with the quarterback coach. I don't think the quarterback coach was even working for the Steelers. As Zach said, that pick to Joe Hayden on Mewelde Moore's route, I don't think it was a route problem. I think it was more rust. It was a bad read on Ben's fault. I think it means 2 things, Ben's return for the Steelers. One, that they're probably the most complete team in the league right now. They've got defense. The offensive line's getting a push off the line of scrimmage. And you know Ben can throw for 28, 30 touchdowns and throw for 4,000 yards. Another, Mike Wallace, Steelers wide receiver, came into the game on Sunday, 5th in the NFL in yards per catch average.